In today's video, I'm going to be talking about our win on the Saginaw Bay / Saginaw River for the Bassmaster Team Championship Series. And this trophy here, this means a lot to me. This is one of the tournaments that I really wanted to win, whether it was on the bay or on the river. To get a win, to get this trophy, was something I wanted to accomplish this year in the Bassmaster Team Championship Series. Good morning, everyone. I'm not going to record a whole lot today. We're stuck in the river for the second tournament of the Michigan Team Championship Series. And it's all dirt stuff. I've fished the river one time with dirts. So
Tuesday, like 3 days ago.
3 days ago. So I'm not recording anything other than maybe just a couple updates throughout the day, maybe if I feel like it. But we'll see what happens. We're stuck in the river. It's blowing 30 miles an hour. Maybe you guys can hear it. It's got to be like 4 or 5 footers on the bay. So probably for the best. But let's have some fun. It's all heavy line, heavy rod kind of stuff. Nothing less than 16-pound test. Let's go get this thing.
I'm on a solid 11 pounds right now, so we're going to try to make something happen.
No, unfortunately, I don't have any footage of the event itself. I thought long and hard about this. I did record, but I don't feel right about sharing a lot of the stuff that we did on the Saginaw River. Now, the reason for that is because it's all Nathan's stuff. My partner, Nathan Durdowski Durds, he lives out there. He fishes out there. He fishes a bunch of tournaments on the river itself. And it's not my stuff to share with you guys. But I'm going to go through today in today's video and break down everything we did to have success, the baits, the areas, and what we were targeting to end up pulling out the win on the Saginaw River. Because this tournament was really cool the way that it played out. There were some things, some lucky things that kind of happened in our favor that allowed us to get an opportunity to win the event. And then obviously making some bites and some opportunities count, putting those fish in the boat that really changed our entire day. So this trophy, this event, you know, being able to win on the Saginaw River, the Saginaw Bay, my home body of water, was really special. Now, going into practice, we were really paying attention to the wind. We knew it was going to blow all week. We knew there were chances that it was going to be canceled or held to the river because of small craft warnings. That was well known prior to going into the event, so we were paying attention to the Omnia Pro app all week long. And one of the cool new features that Omnia has just added to that app is their waypoint system. You can now either mark waypoints on your phone or on your computer at home to really prep for your trips on the lake. And you can either keep these waypoints to yourself, or Omnia has added a sharing option to prep trips with your buddies. So whether you're going out for just a fishing day with your friends or fishing a team tournament series like Nathan and I can share all of these waypoints with him to prep for our trips on the lake. You can do that via text messenger, email, or other messaging options that Omnia has built into the app. And this is going to help you be more efficient, have your waypoints on the go, and be ready every time you get to the lake. So go over, check out the Omnia app. You can either download it using this QR code or link down in the description below, and it's going to help you be more efficient and catch more fish. So I predominantly practiced on the bay. Nathan went and spent a bunch of time on the river, really dialing in some areas. He fished a Thursday night tournament out there to kind of understand what the lake or what the river was doing prior to going into the tournament, and that was really critical in our ability to have success in the tournament itself. And it really all fell together really well. We ended up catching 16.5 pounds. Now, if you guys follow anything on the Saginaw River, 16.5 pounds, especially after the big Bassmaster College tournament was out there and a bunch of local tournaments were beating up on the river, is a really good bag. We figured going in we'd need about 16 pounds, and if you could catch 16, it would give you a really good shot to win that event. Now, one of the big things that happened very early on in the morning was the first spot we started on was a current break. So you had the current flowing this way. We positioned our boat on the edge of a point coming out, and there was a little eddy and a little current seam there where a bunch of bait was basically funneled in. That bait was pushed in there. A bunch of shad, a bunch of bait fish were pushed in there, and there were some big smallmouth and largemouth mixed in this shallow grass feeding on that bait. In Nathan's second cast of the morning, he ended up hooking and losing about a 2.5 pound largemouth. So not a giant by any means, but a fish that would have really helped. And then third or fourth cast, he hooks like a 2 pound largemouth. And then fifth cast, he hooks like a 4.5 pound smallmouth. And now, there's not a lot of giant smallmouth in the Saginaw River. A lot of these fish were brought into the river during that college tournament, basically out spawning, brought up into the river for the weigh-in, and then they were released there. And we ended up getting lucky enough to catch a 4.5 pound smallmouth. And that really kind of set the tone for our day. We knew we had the kicker, we knew we had the fish that we needed, and focusing on those current seams was going to be really important, making the most of that early morning window. We ended up putting a limit of the boat pretty quick, and we were focused on this current seam as well as the grass edge that was pushed up basically on the channel swing. And a lot of that bait and a lot of those fish were pushed in there, set up feeding on all of those bait fish and the shad that were in that area. And it just set up really well for a spinnerbait, but also started to clue us in on a swim jig bite. Now going in, Nathan had gotten a couple bites in swim jig in the Friday practice session, but he was really dedicated to throwing a spinnerbait. I locked this Beast Coast Working Man compact swim jig in my hand pretty much the majority of the day. Now this color is, I believe, the Chartreuse Special or the Shad Special color. All this is going to be linked down in the description below. And then I put a little Excite Shad Nasty swim bait on the back of that. The reason that this is so important is because you could get this bait basically down into the grass or down into the cover and fish it really, really slowly, super slow reel handles, getting that bait down in that cover where those fish were feeding on. A lot of guys fishing those spinnerbaits were up over the cover. They were up over that area where the fish were actually at. And so putting this bait in their face and using a really slow, steady retrieve was really, really important. And then I was fishing that on a TFO Option 7.3 medium heavy. Now this is my go-to swim jig rod. When I'm fishing a swim jig, I really like that 7.3 medium heavy. It's a little bit longer so you can make longer casts, but you can still kind of be precise if you're in cover. But that medium heavy gives you the power you really need to move those fish out of the grass, out of the cover, and get a lot of bites on this thing. Now this bait did basically all of the damage for me. I caught so many fish. I probably caught 15 fish on this bait throughout the day. Really, really did a ton of work. But this area was where I dialed in that bite. Now what clued me in on that was I was making a long cast behind Nathan, who was catching him on a spinnerbait really good. Made a long cast, felt it bogged down in that grass, and as soon as I popped that bait free, I was able to get that fish to trigger. It was about a 2.5 pound largemouth. Ended up going back to weigh in with us, and basically in that first hour of the tournament, we probably had 12.5 pounds. Now 12.5 pounds was what we figured we'd need to have a decent bag to really stay in contention, but that 4.5 pound smallmouth, as well as a couple other really key fish out of the starting area, was really, really important for us. Now we ended up running this pattern quite a bit throughout the day. So after that first area, we kind of bounced down the river a little ways, and we were fishing another current seam, another small bay where there was some vegetation and grass with, again, some sort of eddy or seam pushed up against it. Now, one of the main themes, especially when you're river fishing, is looking for those areas that those fish can feed, but also be near that current. I think current is really important, and this is something Nathan has kind of reinforced in me, finding those areas with current, because that current tends to hold the bait, and then if you have the right type of vegetation or right type of cover, those bass will be there. Now we ended up catching a couple pike as well throughout the day, but really finding the right grasses with the bait fish in it typically held the bass, the better bass, and then obviously, you know, trash fish like pike. One of the really cool fish catches throughout the day, though, was we went back in this slough, and again, out of the back of the slough, you had some water pushing out, some current with some really, really clean water. And what we were doing was flipping the bank, flipping these laydowns that come out. Well, I was flipping down the bank, and I was swimming my swim jig out, and we came up to this big log jam. So there was a bunch of logs laying in the water, and I flipped my swim jig way, way back up, basically on the shore. And as that bait hit the shore, I thought I saw something, and I don't have the best eyes. Like, I'm not a great sight fisherman, but I thought I saw something sort of swim off the bank out towards that deeper water. So I'm reeling that swim jig in. That swim jig's about 2 or 3 foot down. You could just barely see the silhouette, which is pretty cool. When you fish this chartreuse or this white swim jig, you can actually see the silhouette in the water. So I'm swimming this jig back. You can just barely see the silhouette, and I think I see like a shadow behind it. So once I saw that, and it's like maybe 10 foot away from the boat, basically just a rod lengths out, I lower that swim jig, and I just watch it flash on it. And I feel him pick up on it. I set the hook, big dirds, and I just ended up boat flipping it. Turned out it was almost a 4 pound largemouth. So that really, when that fish bit, when that fish came into the boat, I felt really good that we pretty much had the day locked up. That fish put us right around 14.5, 15 pounds. It was one of those fish, it was just really key, and it just kind of reinforced what we were doing and gave us the confidence to continue doing it throughout the day. Okay, it's currently, what time is it?
11:30.
It's currently 11:30. We have a big smallmouth, probably about 4.5, maybe 5 pounds. We have a big largemouth, probably 3 3/4, maybe 3.5. So we probably have about 14.5 to 15 pounds. It's not the biggest bag in the world, but it's a really, really good bag. We're feeling really good. We're running back to look at a couple more things. Then we're gonna give ourselves about an hour to get back to the ramp because it's a long lot of no wake zones. So it's kind of the game plan.
We're just gonna keep fishing. We need one more good one, and then I'll feel a lot better. But
whew, let's go. At this point in the day, it's about 11:30, and a lot of times 11:30 on the river is when that bite starts to die. And this is something Nathan kind of reinforced in me, is just staying really focused, like not letting up the focus throughout the day. But these fish are going to get really, really tight to cover. Now, one thing that we had thought about was that there was a ton of wind, a ton of rain the day prior. The water levels were coming up, so these fish in the pads didn't really want to bite a frog. But if you could flip in next to the cover and get really, really tight to those pieces of cover, those fish would still be locked in those areas. Now, for me, my go-to flipping bait was a compact creature, and this is an Excite Baits Raptor Tail Junior. It is a 3.5-inch craw style bait. Now, this is a bait that I normally put on the back of my jigs, but this comes in and out of cover really, really effectively. Now, this is actually a limited edition color. It's a green pumpkin purple swirl, and it imitates a lot of those bluegills and those bait fish really effectively, especially in those dirty water situations. So I was flipping this on a 5/8 ounce weight, basically getting it as tight into cover as I could, and just super slowly seesawing it in and out. Now, one of the other big keys here was finding areas with current, finding areas that current was blowing out. And there's something about when you win an event that happens that's just like, whoa, that was the perfect decision at the perfect time. So we rolled back up in this creek and we were fishing through it, and we noticed the water was really, really clean. Like the current must have just set up right where that water in that area was really, really clean, and we were getting a lot of bites. We were getting a lot of bites from like 1.5 to 2 pound fish, not really big fish, no real helpers. And then I flipped in next to a piece of wood and I was seesawing that bait in and out. And then all of a sudden it just kind of stopped on the seesaw, and I ended up boat flipping another 2 3/4 pounder that really sealed the deal, gave us 16.5 pounds. It was the last fish of the day, and sealed the deal for us. But when I talk about those right decisions, like 5 minutes later, the current started flowing the opposite direction. The water got really dirty, and we didn't get any other bites in that area throughout the day. So just kind of having things that go right, making the right decisions, like things will go right if you're meant to have the day where you win. Okay, we got about 15.5, hopefully 15.5 pounds, which if it's not enough to win, we had a great fun day. We got a couple more spots to hit. It's 1 o'clock. We're giving ourselves a long time to get back because there's a lot of no wakes, a lot of idle zones, and we're gonna hit a couple more spots on the way back and just see if we can get one more 3-pounder. We got those 2 really good ones. We got a 280, which we caught back there. I don't know what more we can do. Like, if we catch another 3-pounder, it's just gravy. So, got anything to say?
dude, I mean, I'm not saying this is the best day I've ever had on the river, but holy cow, we've had so much fun. It seems like every decision we're making is the right one. We're covering a lot of water. We're not getting stuck in one area, and we're just keeping open minds to what we need to be doing to catch these fish. Just a fun day out here. And
what about timing?
The timing aspect is just, I hate to say it, it's a little bit of luck. You know, decision making in terms of not getting stuck on a spot, being able to fish for fresh fish, not trying to milk too many spots, understanding that, you know, we need to come in and do our damage real quick, and what we catch, and sometimes there's, you know, you stick and stay, you make it pay, and other times you just kind of keep rolling. And today it just feels like one of those days where you need to keep rolling and keep on fresh fish. So we're gonna keep rolling. Hopefully these next spots pan out and we can make some culls, but we're kind of at the point where it's tough to cull what we got on the Saginaw River. We're looking at, in my opinion, you know, a top end bag for what we've got. So I'm excited. We're having a good time. We can't just sit back and kind of put it on autopilot for the rest of the tournament. We need to keep fishing hard and making decisions. So we can't just mail it in.
Rock and roll, buddy.
Rock and roll. These guys aren't going to make it easy on us, so we got to keep sharp, keep focused, and keep catching them hopefully.
But kind of going back to that decision thing, like when you win an event or you do really well in a tournament, there's things that go right that are kind of out of your control. You just seem to make the right decisions. Fish don't come off. Like you just have all of these little things go right throughout the day that inevitably help you to win an event. I was flipping that creature bait on a TFO Resolve 7.6 heavy. This just gave me a little bit extra reach. Now, I'm not a very tall guy. I'm 5'7". This gives me a little extra reach, so when I do set the hook in that cover, in tight cover, I can move those fish really quickly, as well as getting a really positive hook set. You can go a little bit shorter rod. I just like that heavy power rod to get that fish moving out of cover really, really quickly. And that's just kind of how our day went. We ended up getting in a flurry early. We ended up catching a couple more fish here, kind of moved down the river, caught a couple other fish, and just picked some fish off here and there throughout the day that upgraded us to that 16.5 pounds. Now, when things happen like that, you can't really plan it. Now, obviously, Nathan spent a bajillion hours on that river, figuring out areas, figuring out when to hit certain spots, but there's certain things throughout a day that you can't really make happen. You can't make happen a 4.5 pound smallmouth. You can't make happen a 4 pound largemouth. Like, there's things that go on throughout a day where it's like you're meant to win, and that's kind of how I feel about this tournament on the Saginaw River. Things went our way. Things kind of fell in place that allowed us to have a really eventful and successful day. And then just the bait choice, the areas, the execution when we got the bites was on point, and really, really blessed day out there.
First place with 16-18 and big fish of 448 goes to Nathan Nerdowski and Benjamin Nowak.
Now, to be honest, this was a tournament that I was pretty nervous about. There's a lot of really, really good Great Lakes fishermen in this event. Had we not gotten that wind, we probably would have gone out to the big water. We would have chased some smallmouth that I didn't really find or dial in and practice that well. So things kind of fell into place, and I had found some fish on the big water, but by being locked into the river, I think it gave us an advantage, and it gave us this mindset that we just needed to go out and execute on the plan that we had. Now, going into that third event of the season, we finished second on Hubbard Lake, the first event of the year. We finished first on the Saginaw Bay, Saginaw River, and that puts us leading Angler of the Year, Team of the Year. We currently have 199 points out of a possible 200. We have a 7-point lead over second place going into the last two events of the season, and I don't know what to expect from Houghton. I'm really excited based on what Dirds has told me about kind of what he's experienced out there. It should be an offshore bite. We should be looking for a fish, smallmouth bass, kind of cruising these offshore areas. And from my understanding, it's going to be a lot of graphing. It's going to be a lot of looking. It's going to be a lot of dialing in key sweet spot areas that these fish are going to be hanging out. So I'm excited for Houghton. I'm unsure of St. Clair. There's still a lot of season left to go. Anything can happen. You know, one mistake can really plunge us down in that Team of the Year standings. So we need to really kind of stay focused going into Houghton, pay attention to what we're doing, dial in our game plan, and just go out and continue executing. Now, one of the things that these past couple tournaments have reinforced in me is this, I guess, idea of execution. Ability to execute when you're given the opportunities. Don't mess those chances up. And when we go into Houghton, it's going to be about not missing fish, not losing fish, making the right decisions, and kind of having some luck on your side, as well as just really staying focused and having fun. We've not put a ton of stress on ourselves. I'm trying not to get in that stress mindset. Go out, have fun. You're still fun fishing. Yes, it's a tournament, but the best way to have the most success is going to be to fun fish your way to success in these events. If you guys want to check out that Omnia Pro app, it's going to help you guys catch more fish, whether it's monitoring wind, water clarity, grass and vegetation, hard spots on the bottom. There's a ton of awesome options and features of the Omnia Pro app. So go down, check it out in the link in the description below, or just click this QR code right here. It's going to take you to that Omnia Pro app and get you a free trial to that Omnia Pro subscription. So go check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys soon. Take care, Tight Lines. God bless. Pursue your passion.